In this original podcast series, we take a peek behind the curtain of some of the world's biggest film events and talk to some of the industry leaders and working pros across every department of independent film and television to find out what it's really like. The Hub is a weekly in-depth chat about all things film and television, what movies are featuring at the upcoming GMA Awards ceremony, past winners, premieres, nominees, red carpet gossip, career advice, and insider info to help you better prepare for a career in the film industry. You're listening to The Hub, your weekly fix for all things film and television, and some other stuff. Hosted by Jason Matthewson.
We are live, my friend. Welcome everybody. This is the third live broadcast of The Hub, yet it's going to be the first episode kicking off season 1 with the awesome Ian, my friend. Wonderful, Mr. Ian Beattie. Good evening, sir. Good evening. Good afternoon, I should say.
You're too kind. I'm not awesome at all. I'm not wonderful. You should ask members of my family what they think of me.
Ian, buddy, how's things? How you keeping? It's great to see you. You're looking well.
Thank you. Well, one of the minor advantages of being in lockdown is we've got out into the garden and we've been doing a lot of gardening, a lot of painting, a lot of fixing up the house. So I've been getting a fair bit of sun recently. So that's been one of the few benefits.
That's awesome. And how are you coping with this whole lockdown thing? What's it like back home? I mean, I'm over in London here. You're in Belfast right now, right?
We're in Belfast. We, I think, have been a lot luckier because we received the benefit of the lockdown, if you like, at an earlier stage in our curve. And certainly from what I have seen outside, people have been fantastic here. They have been very careful with their social distancing. Everybody has taken on the responsibility that they need to take on. So our numbers are probably lower than perhaps the numbers in England and Wales. Mm-hmm. Also, our cities, of course, are not as big as the likes of London, Birmingham, Manchester. So that has also been a benefit to us. But it's a very difficult, unusual time for everybody. It's unprecedented.
It's so strange. I know. I mean, they keep using that word unprecedented, and normally in the media they throw it around willy-nilly, but they actually might have some gravitas this time. It's such a weird thing. You know, it's never... I was just talking over the last couple of days on various other episodes to various wonderful guests that have come on. It's the weirdest thing, but do you know... This, at least in modern history, at least, if you eliminate like the Great Plagues and the bubonic plague way back in the day, but in recent history, has there ever been a time where human beings, as a human species, has been fighting against something that's not someone of ourselves, a religious belief, or whoever you love? Oh, you can't be gay, or you can't be this, that, or the other, or just some crap that we're all the time fighting with each other over. For the first time, humanity is united against this other thing, and it's a thing this time, not a person or a belief system.
I think the last time in history was the Spanish influenza epidemic in 1918. So certainly in our lifetimes and in the lifetimes of most people alive, this has been totally unprecedented. And, I hope and pray that something good comes out of this epidemic. Some good things have happened. Dolphins are in Venice again in the canals. The canals are clean. Pollution has dropped incredibly in our atmosphere due to the fact that cars aren't out on the road as much as they used to be. Families are interacting in a way they have not done before, or maybe not had time to do in our previous lifestyles. So I think hopefully we will learn the best of the lessons that this pandemic will give us. And if nothing else, it has proven that we can change our ways and we can change things to help this planet and to help ourselves.
Yeah, that is. I couldn't agree more, because I've been watching and there's been these weird things, weird but wonderful at the same time. Like, for example, the Venetian Post put out this thing saying for the first time in years, and I mean like decades, they were able to see the bottom of the canals, and there was dolphins and all these wonderful, beautiful fish coming along, where normally that's just churned up with pollution and old dirt and crap. I mean, just here, and not too far from here in East London, I seen just yesterday on, I think it's the East Chronicle Times or something, this family of deer has moved into a street They've just taken over the whole street because why not? They can. And I think that's awesome. And to go back on what you were saying about the people, I think as well that oddly, we're locked up. We're told not to see our loved ones, not to do this, not to do that, not to do all the things that make us human. Yet we seem to be, for the most part, more happier and more forthcoming and more willing to give your time to one another and just be more pleasant. And I really, as you said, I really hope that when we do come out of this, whenever that is, I hope that that's not lost. I hope that remains.
Yeah. I really hope we learn the lessons that we're learning at the moment. I have noticed it myself out in the streets. If we go out for our daily exercise, we have a couple of dogs, so we would take them for a walk, and complete strangers are, saying hello, how are you? And there just seems to be more interaction, albeit on a social distancing.
Yeah, right. Even here, in a place like London that you've been to 1,000,001 times, and I'm sure you know very well, it's any big city, right? They tend to be very isolating, very kind of tend to be a bit angry sometimes. They're all hustle bustle, go, and no one's got time for anyone. But now, people in London is going, hey, how you doing? Good morning, nice day. And I'm like, this is lovely. It feels like I'm back home in Donegal. It feels awesome. It feels wonderful. So much smaller and more, and I love that. And I just hope that that's not lost. But one thing also as well, and you made a good point, is the things that these leaders and so forth say is, we can't stop using fossil fuel. We can't do this. We can't do that. We can't fix the ocean. We can't fix that lake. Why? Because it'll take a month and years and years and years and years and years. Wrong. Yeah. Look how quickly Mother Nature changed the world without us doing a goddamn thing. We done nothing. And Mother Nature's resetting our planet for us. I hope that people realize that, we can be better. And we are the biggest problem. We're the plague. We're the virus on this planet. And I hope that people just learn from that and be a bit better. And when the politicians, if there's any listening, the next time that you're presented with the time of year when the budget comes around, don't forget about the artists, because arts is always made to feel like we're the side friend, we're the third wheel, we're the guy in the corner that people kind of want when you've got nothing better to do. Well, look, I'm not going to sit here and say that we're the most important. We're not. Of course, we're not. First responders are, and NHS and the so forth. Those are the real troopers of this. But when everyone else, 99% of the world, is sitting down scratching their ass, the artists of the planet has done what we've always done. But now it's being noticed. We're coming out to entertain. And I mean people like myself and so forth. But then there's high profile names like yourself and like Patrick. And I mean, just the other day I watched Elton John. Elton John, who was the other one? It was Chris Martin from Coldplay, Elton John, and oh my God, the crazy 60s guy with the crazy hair. It doesn't matter. Anyway, massive stars. The Boss as well. Bruce Springsteen doing a concert. Dave Chappelle doing a stand-up. I think that's just wonderful, and I hope people remember that and remember that the arts are important.
Well, back here at home, we've had numerous of our artists. Gary Lightbody did a
Snow Patrol,
concert from his living room. We've had people out. I myself was inspired, funny enough, by Ricky Gervais. He went live and did and Ricky is just my number one. He's just incredible.
I know.
But whenever he did his first live broadcast, I watched it, I loved it, and I thought, well, I'm not funny. What can I do? So I started actually doing one poem a day. And it's been amazing, it's been really, really fun because, one, I've rekindled my love for poetry. And my wife has been so helpful to me as well. She has shown me some incredible poems I've never read before, and I'm using them online. Mm-hmm. And it's been received quite well, but that's our job. We are entertainers, and we keep on entertaining. And I've noticed so many people online. For example, Patrick Stewart, the wonderful, incredible Patrick Stewart, doing a sonnet a day from William Shakespeare. And I might have mentioned to you before, because he's doing it from his home, he's sitting out in his garden with his cat on his lap, his cat Glenn, and there's an intimacy.
It's lovely.
That I think people find magical. Mm-hmm. John Krasinski, the wonderful man who's married to the just as wonderful Emily Blunt.
Emily Blunt,
They had A Quiet Place 2 due to come out, and it had to be postponed. Did he sit and mope and skulk? No, he did not. He got up and he formed an online platform where every day he searches the web for stories of inspiration, and he puts them online every single day.
I think I've seen that. Is it called GS something or something like that? There's 3 letters, right?
Like that. Yeah. And I urge everybody to look out for it because, as I say, John Krasinski is another one of my top class people.
Again, I have to agree with you.
I do think people, after all this is over, after we've got through this, if we get through this, but when we get through this, after all this is over, I think people will remember. I think people will remember who did the right thing. I also, unfortunately, think people will remember who did the wrong thing during these times.
I think this is going to be one of these like before and after things. Like, you know what I mean? Like 9/11. We all know what we were doing the day before that, and then the world changed on that day, and then everything was after 9/11 or before. 9/11, I think this is going to be like a before Corona and after Corona. And I say, as you say as well, I just hope people, embrace this moment. Like, come on, like in our day, like, our parents and our grandparents and our great grandparents, when their lifetime, big thing in their lifetime came to them, it was World War I and II, and their governments told them, okay, off your ass, we're going to ship you off to Germany and you're going to get shot at and blown up. We're being told to go home, chill, watch Netflix and have a beer. I mean, it doesn't get much easier than that. People can't do it.
I do think in today's lifestyle, I do think our lifestyle today, our children, I mean, I have 3 beautiful kids at home here. Our children's lifestyle, it's more advanced than it's ever been. We've got the technology, we've got the, we can watch movies on our phone, for goodness sake. I didn't have a mobile phone when I was a kid. We had the old black telephone in the corner. So, yes, I do think that our parents, our grandparents, and our great-grandparents did know what it was like to go through very, very tough times. And, they got through it. So it's a learning curve for all of us. And I think it will make us as a species stronger. I certainly hope it will.
Yeah, me too. I sincerely hope it does, and I think it will. But I think I was just talking to Rebecca Louisa Smith yesterday, actually, from the film festival Doctor. We're talking about strategies and how festivals are now coping with this new climate. I think whenever we are told by our governments or our respective leaders, whoever they may be, okay, you're good now, and the process of exiting this lockdown will commence. I think even after we are completely out of it, it'll take us a while to get out of it mentally. The mental lockdown, when people get together again, we might not just run and embrace each other like we naturally would have. We'd be like, is it still... You're kind of weird in your head with it, And I think
I think so. But for all of that, I mean, with the social distancing, as I said, I have really noticed here where I live. I live in East Belfast, and I live in a wonderful area. Couple of parks nearby, Stormont Park's nearby, Belmont Park. And I have noticed for all the social distancing, people being friendlier, people being more intimate, people just saying hello, how are you, thank you. If you move out of somebody's way and thank you very much, well, you're very welcome. It is lovely to see that the majority of the people that I have seen out in the streets have been fantastic. So even if there is that, when we get over this, that level of social distancing, I hope none of us forget how we've managed to come together during this crisis.
I totally agree. That nicely takes us on to, I want to talk about your poem a day, because when you started doing that, obviously we're friends on the various platforms and so forth, and I've seen those, and I think it's absolutely wonderful. And I've been watching every day as you've been doing the various different poems, and we have one that we're going to play now in a second. And I think, do you know what? Maybe I'll play it first, because that'll give us a good sense of what it's about, and then we can talk about it afterwards.
Wonderful.
Let me just pull where is it? There we go.
Hi, I'm Ian. Welcome to One Poem a Day. This poem is dedicated to my lifelong friend, Charles O'Neill, who passed away 1 year ago today. The O'Neill family, who I all love. To Roma Tumulty and her family. To Mark O'Shea and his family. Thanks to my brother, Stuart. He knows why. not so much a poem as a Native American prayer. When I am dead, cry for me a little. Think of me sometimes, but not too much. Think of me now and again as I was in life. At some moments it's pleasant to recall, but not for long. And while you live, let your thoughts be with the living. Look after yourselves, look after each other. If you can, help those who need it, and above all, stay home and stay safe. All my love to all of you.
Ian, buddy, that was absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. It's a special one for me, because the reason why I thanked my brother Stuart before I started reading the poem, my brother Stuart read that out at my mother's funeral in 1997, and it was an anniversary. First of all, my very lifelong friend Charles O'Neill had passed away a year ago that day. Also, an extraordinary woman, Roma Tumulty, who was an absolute giant of the arts here in the province. She passed away last week, and I was also remembering my old friend and fantastic actor, Mark O'Shea. And I thought it was a fitting tribute to each and every one of them. But it's also a beautiful sentiment, and it's one that was very, very close to my heart.
Yeah, I think honestly, it's beautiful, and it's very obvious when you're reading it that it means quite a great deal to you. It's not just something that you're reading, and that's really lovely. But how have you found that's been received by the ethos of the internet?
Well, so far, I mean, the amount of likes I've been getting, the amount of sort of retweets, people sharing it on Facebook, it has been received remarkably well. And my good friend, Mary-Louise Muir, who's the arts correspondent for BBC Northern Ireland, she actually started to bring me on to her Saturday show, the Culture Cafe, which is being done pretty much online, like everything else is being done at the moment. And so I'm doing one poem a week for her as well. So it has been remarkably well received. As I say, I just wanted to do something to touch base with people, to touch base with my friends on Facebook, my friends on Instagram, my friends on Twitter. And since then, I have made so many more friends on those platforms. It has been wonderful. Just to let people know, we're all in this together, and if I can give them a minute's respite from the worry, or if I can make them think about something, or if I can make them pick up a book and have a look, or make them search for a particular poet and look at a bit more of their work, then it will not have been in vain. But so far, it's been extraordinarily well received. I've been very, very happy, and I've been happy that I've been able to do something. As I say, this, we are entertainers. This is our job. And we're all stuck at home, and we can sit at home and we can sit in front of the TV all day, all night, or we can do something. And it's been so inspirational. So many people have got up there and done something. I have to tell you, I was watching something yesterday, and again, inspirational. It was put on Twitter and Facebook, and it was Brad Pitt.
Oh, wow.
And he was playing, is it Dr. Fauci?
Yeah.
The president's advisor. But it was the opening of last week's Saturday Night Live, where he was playing Dr. Fauci. And I mean, he was wonderful. Again, I urge everyone who is watching this to look up Brad Pitt as Dr. Fauci. It was hilarious. It was funny. It was incredible. But then at the very end, it was most touching. I won't say any more because I won't spoil it for you.
Okay.
But watch it to the end. And, whenever you see stuff like that, it's inspirational. It really, really is. Absolutely inspirational. I remember, funny enough, who was it? I cannot remember. Was it Gal Gadot? Who played Wonder Woman.
Oh, Gail
Gadot. She had a load of people online together. And, they were all singing the song Imagine.
Oh, John Lennon.
She got
amazing.
all these people together to do this, all these famous celebrities, these big top stars. And they were all doing a line here and a line there. And I thought it was wonderful. Yet for some reason, some people came out and criticised it. I just didn't understand that.
No.
I just didn't understand where the criticism came from, because they were all trying to do something, just touch base with people.
Yeah.
And that there was nothing more than that. That was all they were trying to do. And I was actually quite disappointed by some of the criticism, to be honest with you. But that's our life, isn't it? I mean, everybody's a critic.
you can never keep everyone happy, you know, and that's
never please everyone.
There's some. I posted a video on I reposted or whatever, shared, whatever you want to call it, a video of this lady from Florida, who put a video on her page or whatever, and essentially the gist of the video was she was appealing to the mayor or the councillor or whatever the hell that runs Florida, saying that he or she should open the beaches because they in Fort Lauderdale don't, and I quote, drink Mexican beer like Corona beer like the Mexicans, so they're all good. She thinks getting Corona comes directly from drinking Corona beer. I mean, there's just some people that are just morons, and it's never going to be happy. You know, that's something as well. I'm definitely not someone who's I'm not a big fan of the establishment. I'm not a fan of governments and so forth. But for the first time ever, I think that maybe, at least for the most part, all our governments are actually working in our best interest. And people are giving them such a hard time. And yes, it's their job to be prepared. And maybe they weren't as prepared as they should have been. But this is new to us all. And they are just human beings too. They don't know what the hell to do, no more than anyone else. So, you know, they're doing their best, so cut them some slack. I just think that everyone's jumping on the bandwagon, expecting everyone to have this down. This has not happened before. This is the first time. Come on. But
absolutely.
Yeah. And there's something I do on the show. It's called, I call it anyway, the 3 W's. So I'm going to do that now because I like to, especially with the performers, I like to get into that. And it's the 3 W's is where, why, and when.
Okay.
So the acting bug or the creativity bug or whatever form of creativity got you first. How or where, why, and when did that happen to you?
Okay. I'm not sure how many people know this. When I was 7, my father took me to a circus owned by a friend of his, who later I knew as Uncle Jim Beck. And it was a Wednesday afternoon, matinee performance. So I went round the back of the tent with Uncle Jim, and he brought me into one of the caravans, and he said, "What do you like about the circus?" I said, "I love clowns." So he painted a clown's face on me. Great, wonderful, brilliant, that's great. And then he took me around to the back of the tent where all the acts were waiting to go on. So there was a fire eater over there, and there was the horses, they were ready to come on. And there was a clown act on, actually out in the ring at that moment in time. And Uncle Jim said, "So you really want to be a clown?" And I went, "Yeah." And he opened the curtain and he threw me out in front of 1,500 people. So I did that for 4 years.
Oh, what?
You know, I was the only boy.
You did?
I was the only boy who didn't have to run away to the circus. I was brought every week by my parents.
You were brought there by the family.
Yep, every weekend. It ran from March to September. Every weekend I would go, I would be the clown, I would do this, I would do that, do everything else. And every summer I would tour around Northern Ireland. This was from 1972 to 1976, which was at the height of the Troubles. And I toured around Northern Ireland with this circus, Circus Delabec was its name, and it was named Delabec because Jim's wife was called Della. So it was Circus Delabec. And I toured for 4 years, every summer and weekends whenever it was close to Belfast, Easter holidays, that sort of thing. And that's where I got bitten by the bug.
And obviously the circus, that's an incredible story. So you were clowning for this Delabec circus for 4 years between 76 and, what do you say,
76.
That's incredible.
I only retired whenever I moved up to senior school. I had to sort of give it up then.
Are we ever going to see you in the big top again?
I don't know. Again, my wife and my kids say there's a story there. There's a TV show there.
Do you know what would be cool?
I have not been creative enough, and I think it's time to sit on my backside and get writing, because there is a wonderful story there.
Absolutely. I think the whole circus life is really interesting to me because it's something that's like outside of the fringes of society. I think it's really cool. But maybe if a movie like, I don't know, what was the one Hugh Jackman done recently where he was the circus?
The Greatest Showman.
Exactly. If something like that came along where you could incorporate your acting career and like traditional filmmaking with your knowledge of the circus, that'd be really cool.
Yeah. The lovely thing is, I mean, I am, as I say, I've been prompted and I am going to sit down and start writing. It's all true. And, there were some amazing stories. There were some funny times. It was the most wonderful. It was the best of times. I mean, for a kid, it was like being in Magic Land. It was just wonderful.
Is it really like a big family, like they say, all the performers?
That's exactly what we were. And it was the most magical time for me.
Wow.
And sometimes, I take it for granted. And then I just start thinking about all the wonderful things that happen. And I will sit down. I promise you, and I promise everybody out there, it's time to start writing that story.
There's a circus movie coming. Awesome. I love it. Do you think that the circus and what you did within it and the lessons you learned as a young boy growing up into a young adult, and that as one thing, but also the performance element of the circus, do you think that or how did that lend itself to your acting career when you got in front of a camera, and that was more, a more technical side of things, and very different, but still performance nonetheless?
It was funny. I mean, from a very young age, partly due to the circus and the performance aspect of that, I wanted to be an actor. I mean, I could remember telling people from the age of 8 or 9, I'm going to be an actor. No matter, and I've always never, I've never made that a secret that I always wanted to be an actor. But when I wanted to be an actor, I saw myself on the screen. I didn't see myself necessarily. I mean, I really didn't imagine theatre as being a side to that. For me, the magic was always on screen. Yeah. That sense of escapism, the wonderful films that I used to watch as a child, the wonderful films and television shows that I watch now. For me, it's a form of escapism. It's entertainment. And, you just get attached to characters. There's characters you love, characters you hate, characters you love to hate. Characters you hate to love, it's just the magic of cinema, the magic of the screen. Because I won't narrow it down to cinema. I will talk about the screen, because so much incredible stuff is now coming on our television platforms. Yeah,
I mean, because you and I are I'm not from Belfast, I'm from Donegal, but, very close. And what was the mentality? Because I know like you, I wanted to be an actor from day dot. And I didn't I didn't hide that fact. But the kind of reply that I got when I was like, oh, I'm going to be an actor, they were like, oh, cool. So what's your real job? What's the backup going to be?
Okay then, yeah. No, well, whenever I went to my careers master in Methodic, my old school, and said I wanted to be an actor, he laughed at me. I mean, nothing at all. There wasn't even sort of information at that time. There wasn't information about drama colleges or whatever. So basically, I did it myself. Although, to be fair, I did go to university first and study law and qualified as a barrister before I took the step of going to drama college. And I went to drama college de Lambda, actually, on the 1-year course. So that's what, if you like, broke me in. But I got something under my belt first.
Mm-hmm. Just to let people know, we're going out live right now on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitch, and Twitter. So you can get your comments and get your messages in here, and we'll pop them over to Ian and anything you want to know. But that nicely takes us on as well. Do you know? I mean, when you were starting out, and even myself as well, there was this thing that, like, if you were in movies, then you were a movie star. If you were in television, then you were, it's just a bit of telly, you know what I mean? Like Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise were the movie stars, and in the late 80s, 90s, even into the late 90s, TV people, who cared? But then TV started to get so good. Oh my God. And now I firmly believe that it's far better than cinema, not just in its quality, but in its absolute diversity, in the diversity of stories. And that nicely takes me on to your TV work. And that's just kind of awesome, man. It's like, I mean, dude.
I was lucky. How did
that come? Like, how did that, like, that day? Because, like, you've done a lot of stuff on TV, on film, big movies. We'll go into some of them in a minute. Some bigger stuff, some smaller stuff. But, like, Game of Thrones, that is a different beast.
It was honestly. It was. can't emphasize this enough. It was luck. It was just being in the right place at the right time and the right face. I auditioned for Game of Thrones season 1, not for the trailer that made the pilot, and then HBO had gone and seen the pilot and greenlit the series. So they were casting for the series, and I got seen for a role, and I didn't get it, and I was furious. I was thinking to myself, right, they're flying some guy over from London, okay? They're going to put him up in a hotel. I live 5 minutes away from the studio. Come on, guys. You're going to save money if you employ me. So, of course, I didn't get the role, and furious, fit to be tied. But 4 weeks later, they then auditioned me, and it was a local casting director who was helping Nina Gold and Robert Stern.
Carla, right?
Carla Strong, wonderful girl.
Yeah.
And so they brought me in and auditioned me for Sir Meryn Trant. And I got it. And so...
That's amazing.
It was amazing. The role I auditioned for originally was Jory Cassell, Ned Stark's right-hand man who gets knifed in the eye, season 1, episode 5.
Oh, okay.
5 years later, I'm still playing Sir Meryn Trant. But I have to say also, the actor who played Jory Cassell, a Scots actor by the name of Jamie Seaves, was fantastic. He was perfect in the role of Jory. He was just so perfect. And that was one of the magical things about Thrones. The casting was immaculate.
It was unbelievable.
Except for one.
Man, dude, you were fantastic in it. But like that must have been, well, first of all, a couple of things.
By the way, the one I'm talking about is Ed Sheeran.
Oh my God. How did that happen? Do you know what?
How that happened. And here's the inside story. It was Maisie's birthday.
Really?
And, he was put in the show as a birthday present. I mean, no harm to you. Sorry, guys. Get her a pony.
I know, right? You know, I thought to myself, like, I was like, Game of Thrones is so big, it doesn't need to be taking, like, you know, empty plugs like that. But no, the fact that it's, you know, just like a little inside scoop for Maisie, then that's actually cooler. That's even better. I like that.
There is something very, very cool about it. I mean, Gary Lightbody was in Game of Thrones. Nobody saw him or recognized him. But Gary was there along with a couple of members of the band. They were, I think, I may be wrong on this, but I actually think they were in the episode The Reigns of Castamere. Really? I may be wrong. I would need to check that out. Don't take it as read. I will look at it and come back at you on that one.
But two things I want to get into with this is, first of all, as I said before, you've done so much stuff, some big, middle, and small stuff, TV, film, whatever. But like the day you arrived on Thrones, I mean that thing.
Well, the incredible thing about my first day on set, literally my first day on set, was the day I killed Syrio Forel. And I'd done the research, right? I'd done the research in the character, what research there was, opinions about this character from the books, arrogant, snide, whatever, cowardly, whatever. So I remember thinking, before I got on set, I reached the conclusion that old Sir Meryn was a coward, a thug, a bully, and not really that fit to be a Kingsguard. And to disguise that, he would have this expression as if he'd just stepped on something, and the something was the piece of shit he was looking at. And that's where that came from.
Wow. That's very cool.
Where the expression came from, and obviously the boys, David and Dan, and the geniuses who ran the show, they loved it, and they thought, yep, that's it. And they always kept me right with the character, you know, yes, he's this, no, he's not that. But it was the most wonderful day because, say, Miltos Uremelu, who played Syrio, who was a huge fan favourite, and I get to kill him on the first day on set. I also got to meet Maisie for the first time, and my last day on set was also with Maisie. It was the most remarkable experience. Season 1. It was a great show. You could see, you know, the storylines, the things that were going on, the size of it, you know. But the budget wasn't huge at that stage. But as the seasons went on, season 3, I remember going on the first day of season 3, Actually, I'll tell you a story before that. Season 2, the first day on season 2, David Benioff walked up to me and he said, "You might have heard you're dying this year." And I was like, "No."
Oh.
No. He said, "Don't worry, you're not." He said, and what had happened was one of the writers put me trying to kill Tyrion at the Battle of Blackwater and Pod Payne killing me. But when David and Dan saw it, they said, no, keep him alive. We need him. David then said to me, this first day on set in season 2, he said, "You're going to die and Arya's going to kill you." And I didn't tell anybody for 3 years. I talk about no spoilers.
Oh my God.
I'm very proud of myself.
That must have been hard to keep all that, because from all the interviews and things that I've watched with various, and I know Kit a little bit as well, from all the interviews, like all of them, every single member of the cast, it would seem at least, really wasn't privy to any inside scoop. It was like you got the script and then you figured out if you're dying or not, and that was it.
Yeah, well, funny enough, I think it started in season 3 or season 4, I can't remember, but David and Dan started making the personal phone calls at the start of the season to say, "Valar Morghulis, chum, your time is up." And I, of course, got mine at the start of season 5. And, of course, you get the phone call. "Will you take a conference call from David and Dan?" No.
No.
Tell them to call me back next season. We're fine. So yeah, no, they would make a personal phone call, or in the case of the top members of the cast, I mean, sometimes the top members of the cast literally found out on the read through.
Oh my God.
When they were reading, and right, okay, I'm dead. Good, I'm fine.
I remember seeing something. I think it was Kit and Amelia that she learned that she
had got the script.
Spoiler alert, by the way, anyone who hasn't seen the finales.
We'll just say that Amelia got the script the night before the read through.
Okay.
And on the table read, when Kit got to that point, he looked at Amelia, and Amelia kind of went, and you could see what an impact that had.
Wow.
I mean, on Kit, you really could see, because the thing about Game of Thrones was, I said at the start of season 3, when we got on set, there really was a buzz. We were getting the DVD sales figures, and we could see that this thing was going ballistic. By season 4, it had gone crazy, and nobody, I promise you, nobody during season 1 thought that this show was going to be as big as it was. Nobody thought that. I mean, we knew we had a good show. We knew we had a good show, but nobody thought it was going to go ballistic the way it did. It was just the most incredible phenomenon. And we were a family. Make no mistake about it. I mean, and I'm not just talking about the members of the cast. From the top of the pyramid to the base of the pyramid, everybody did their jobs, and did their jobs perfectly. Everybody had a passion. You talk about no spoilers, okay? Okay, let's talk about one episode, my favorite episode in the entire show, which was season 6, episode 9, Battle of the Bastards. Best piece of television. Better than any movie I've ever seen. Quite frankly, the best single episode of anything I have ever seen. It was stunning. But you talk about no spoilers. Okay, let's talk about the cast. No spoilers. Fair enough. It's our job. What about the 500 extras? They didn't spoil anything either. We were a family. We were a family. And the worst professional day of my life was my last day in Game of Thrones, when I had, at the end of that day, when I heard the words, "That's a series wrap" on Ian Beattie, and I knew I had to leave that family. Wow. It was awful.
It must be really hard. Like, you hear these similar stories coming from actors that have been in long-running shows where you're working every day for months and months and months on end with, and you're, especially with Thrones, like, because there's so many. First of all, it is a behemoth of a show. It was the biggest. It was the biggest thing in the world, but the next biggest thing wasn't even close. It was it was 5 or 6 units, a couple of hundred people per unit.
Was absolutely huge. I remember, I used to, for a couple of years in the early 90s, I moved over to LA with a very, very good friend of mine, my best friend over there, Jerry Irons. And him and I, not Jeremy the actor, another Jerry Irons, and him and I were in LA, trying to break through as actors, being bartenders and waiters mostly, but doing what we had to do. Yeah. But one of my favorite places in LA was In-N-Out Burger.
Oh, dude, I lived there for quite a while myself as well.
A great burger chain. So
Miss it
season
so much.
5 premiere, okay, was going to be in San Francisco. So I flew out for the season 5 premiere, and my friend Jerry lived in LA at this stage. Yeah, still does, lives in Malibu. And I was staying with him, and then him and I was going to spend 2 or 3 days with him, and then we were going to go up and watch the premiere in San Francisco. I hired myself a car. One of the first things I did, literally one of the first things I did, lunchtime in LA on a Wednesday afternoon, I drove straight over to In-N-Out Burger to get myself my burger and my chili fries, and I was really,
Off the
really
secret menu. That's not secret at all.
and I got mobbed. I got mobbed in In-N-Out Burger. I must have taken 100 photographs of people, and it was literally one of the greatest moments of my life.
What does that feel like? You know, for the first time that happens, you know, when you're on something, you've been working for years and years, and you do this, that, and the other, but now you're on like this thing, and you walk into, in this case, In-N-Out, so a burger joint, and the public just go, oh my God, it's Miriam Trant, bam, and they're over to you. Like that must be a weird thing.
For me, that is wonderful. I know there are many actors who actually aren't comfortable with, you know, what comes with a certain success, such as, you know, if you're in Game of Thrones. I remember Kit was very uncomfortable with so much of the public attention because that's who Kit is, you know, and Kit's a gorgeous kid. I'm so fond of him. But I was always reasonably comfortable with it, and I always felt that, you know, especially after Game of Thrones. I mean, before Game of Thrones, nobody wanted my autograph. Nobody wanted my photograph. After Game of Thrones, they did. I was absolutely delighted to provide it. I mean, I think partly it's my job, but also I personally don't have a problem with it. I would have a problem, and it's never happened to me. I would have a problem with, you know, some celebrities. I think they go too far with, you know, when they're outside hiding in bushes, photographing them in their bikinis and their underwear and stuff like that. I think there is a limit.
Absolutely.
There is a level at which you should have a certain amount of privacy. So I do think that, and again, the bigger celebrity, I think that can happen sometimes. But, you know, you look at the biggest celebrities of today, and you look at the likes of Brad Pitt, and especially Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks is such a wonderful inspiration, I think, to all of us.
Absolutely.
He just genuinely seems to be an absolute superstar in every sense of the word.
I love that he goes around and he drops what he says, the quote, the H-bomb now and again.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's a magical creature. He's the most wonderful inspiration for every actor out there. Yeah. And, you know, he is such an incredibly good actor.
Oh, my God.
If you look at his body of work, oh, my goodness, to have a body of work like that, I mean, he is just phenomenal. And I would consider myself an absolutely huge, if not number one fan of Tom Hanks. I think he's just brilliant.
Totally have to agree with you. I think he's wonderful. But I want to get on to, I mean, first, as an actor, Game of Thrones, okay, that must have been just an absolute dream as an actor. Because what I mean by that is because, first of all, you are working with the best writers, actors, producers, directors, costume people, stunt, CG, and you know for a fact that while the worlds within Game of Thrones, some of them are very fantastical and really, you know, dejected from reality. But if you can get yourself to a place where you are real within that world, you know that the men and women that are going to be painting you and editing and CG and so on, you know that you be real in that world. They will create a world around you that is so unbelievably authentic.
It was perfect.
Unreal.
It was perfect. Every single detail, every single unbelievable detail, from costumes, hair, makeup, you know, you name it, props. There was a warehouse full of different props, and those were the cups for King's Landing. Those were the cups for Winterfell. You know, I mean, every single detail was perfect in this show. And, you know, we as actors, actually, we had it easy, by and large. You know, picked up in a nice car, brought down, got some breakfast, got some coffee, get on your uniform. You've got help to put the uniform on, especially in my case, because it was 28 kilos worth of armor. So you get the help with the uniform, and then you get your coffee and you walk on set, and bang, we're ready to go. Whereas, the makeup people, the crew, all the crew, the electricians, the plasters, the painters, they're all there at 4 o'clock in the morning. I've been working, by the time I got on set, they'd been working very, very hard for 3 hours to get everything ready for me. But it was the most magical, unbelievable experience. And, there were times, working with the actors I was working with, I remember people asked me what one of my favorite scenes was to be in. And I kept saying, well, it was Tyrion's trial during season 4, when Tyrion is standing trial in front of his father and his sister. And he gives that speech. I have to say, the thing about Game of Thrones is for every 30 minutes, or for every minute that you saw on screen, that anybody saw on screen, we filmed 30 minutes, at least. At Tyrion's trial, I don't know, it was 10, 12 minutes on screen. It took 4 days, 4 full days of filming that trial. 500 extras, the opulence of the Iron Throne room. It was just the most incredible 4 days. And I stood beside Nikolai Coster-Waldau, Jaime Lannister, and I watched Peter Dinklage give that speech maybe 8, maybe 9 times. And every time it was spectacular. I remember at one point turning around to Nikolai. Thankfully, the camera wasn't on me and I wasn't mic'd up. And I said, Jesus, he's good, isn't he? just the most incredible.
But Ian, the acting quality truly was exceptional. I mean, it all was, all of it. But there was, for me, there was, Conleth is just, oh my God.
I actually, I've known Conleth now coming on, I don't know.
Yeah.
35 years I've known Conleth, and I hate Conleth. He puts on a character the way I would put on a coat. It would take me weeks, it would take me months, and he just shrugs it on and bang, there he is. He is a spectacular actor.
Do you know, for me, the last couple of episodes, or even the last season or two, especially when the shit had hit the fan and they all knew that they were done, basically, and Conleth's exit, basically, his death scene, that conversation that himself and Tyrion had on the steps of the Iron Throne, that was utterly beautiful. My God.
Heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking. And I do know, and I can tell you this without fear or favour, Conleth and Peter struck up a very, very close friendship very quickly into the series, and that carried through all the way of them working together. I would tell you, Conleth Hill is a terrible practical joker. terrible joker on set. He will when he's not on camera, he'd be making these faces at you and stuff like that. And then if you share a scene with him, this has happened to me more than once with Conleth. He doesn't say it to you. He actually says it to the director. So you've done the rehearsal, and Conleth turns around to the director and says, "Is he going to do it like that?" But Conleth is fantastic, and the scenes with Conleth and Peter were rooted in a very strong friendship that they, I'm sure, have to this day. Both stunning actors, by the way. No harm in telling you all that. Both Conleth and Peter are the very top of their game.
There isn't a weak link in the whole thing. There isn't a weak link in the whole thing. Yourself very much included, man. You were absolutely wonderful in it. And
I was lucky. Again, I was lucky for the first 4.5 seasons. I was playing a character that was, if you like, in the books, perhaps a little two-dimensional than some of the more obvious, more rounded characters. But I was given a lot of advice when I needed it, but also a lot of freedom. And I noticed as the seasons went on, I haven't read the books yet, by the way. I've got them all. I'm waiting until Winds of Winter is published before I start reading the books. But I did my research on the character as he was seen in the books. And I did notice that as the seasons went on, my character was getting quite a lot of other characters' points of view as seen from the book. In other words, they were bringing in other characters, and I was doing the stuff that those other characters were doing in the book. So I did see, and I believe that both David and Dan were being very, very generous to me in those terms. They were being extraordinarily generous, and that culminated in season 5. Season 5 was an absolutely stunning season for me, and the end I got was spectacular. I mean, my death was spectacular. I still believe it's the most expensive single death ever filmed on Game of Thrones. At least it certainly was up to the end of season 6. And to me, I was aware when I got the scripts for those last 2 episodes that this was a gift to me from David and Dan. It was like, here you go. Here is the best death scene you're ever going to have. The most challenging 2 scenes you're ever going to do as an actor. Oh, you'll be working with the best director you've ever worked with and the best crew. Try not to mess it up too much, Wayne.
No pressure.
I was strongly aware that I was being given a gift here. Now, they were, I say, 2 nightmare scenes, 2 horrible scenes, but I was strongly aware that that was a gift.
Okay, 2 little quick things, and then we'll move on to the next project. I'm more curious myself than anything else. Or maybe can you say who was maybe your favorite, if you're willing to say, your favorite character Lena. Or your favorite actor that you
Lena every day, twice on Sundays. Lena was wonderful. I probably spent more time working with Lena than anybody else, and she's so unlike Cersei Lannister, you wouldn't believe it. I mean,
we just have you up on the screen now, yourself and Lena in your costume. It's the scene where just before she's marched naked through on the way into that building. This is the clip. But yeah, she first of all, she's a wonderful actress. But to have same as Joffrey as well, wonderful actor, because if you despise these people with every fiber of your being, you hate them so much. They're doing their job. But what was Lena like? What's Lena like? Not Cersei. What's Lena like?
Stunning girl. She's a stunning girl. I mean, she is a role model. She speaks out where it counts. She is so warm. She is funny. She's got an incredible sense of humor. She's a wonderful mother. She's just a great, incredible girl, and as I say, a wonderful actress. There'd be times whenever I was working with her in the same scene, and again, maybe I'd be off camera or something, and I would just see her do something, maybe just change the look slightly or raise an eyebrow slightly, and the subtlety of her performance was incredible. To this day, my favorite character in Game of Thrones was Cersei Lannister.
She's absolutely wonderful.
I couldn't wait to see her on screen again.
Such an arc.
That was the thing. The actor that the character you cannot wait to see on screen again, and you're sitting there waiting for them to come on. That's your favorite character. Well, that was mine. Yeah. Cersei Lannister, and Lena was just stunning.
What a wonderful
arc. The
arc.
other person that I was privileged to work with, and not just work with, but during the Purple Wedding, where I was standing. The camera had been put there for one of the scenes. So I was basically, you go back to the tent, chill out for an hour or so while we film from your point of view. And the person sitting beside me was Dame Diana Rigg, and she was broken as well. Away you go. And Dame Diana and I spent about an hour in our set-up tent in Dubrovnik, and I sat and listened to Dame Diana's stories for an hour, and I was just absolutely enamored. I never dreamed, as a younger actor, I never dreamed I would ever get to meet Dame Diana, let alone work with her, and let alone share a wonderful afternoon with her. So, these have been some of the benefits of being in Game of Thrones. Say, all of the actors that I personally worked with, and I was probably luckier than most because I was based in King's Landing, and because I was there for the big scenes, things like the Purple Wedding and Tyrion's trial. I got to meet and work with a very, very large number of the cast, and it was absolutely incredible.
Yeah. That's amazing, buddy. Absolutely amazing. Just a quick note here. We have Esther Jester watching in. She's saying that she was Lena's hair double for those scenes where Lena had to get all her hair cut off, like really roughly, and then march through the thing. So Esther Jester's watching in. She says she absolutely loved you in Game of Thrones and misses it dearly. And she was Lena's hair double.
Thank you so much for that. I unfortunately wasn't there for the Walk of Shame because Cersei had sent me away to Bravos with that Egypt Tyrell. So, and also I'd flown home the day before they filmed the Walk of Shame, but I knew who the body double was for Lena on that day. I didn't realize you were the hair double. That's a brilliant job, a job well done, and something you should be very, very proud of, because I find that to be one of the most iconic, most powerful scenes in the entire series of Game of Thrones. Because who would have imagined you would have felt sorry for Cersei Lannister?
I know, right? I mean, incredible stuff.
So, well done, Esther. Brilliant job.
We have a question here from Andy Purton, who's watching in from New York. He says, if you were given the opportunity to play any part within any of the different worlds, whether it be Dorne or King's Landing or the Night's Watch or any of the various worlds within Thrones, which role would you play, or which world would you exist in?
Interesting question, Andy. I was lucky enough to get Meryn. I'll be honest with you, it was the biggest gift I ever had in my life. I was more than happy with Meryn. And I mean, I was genuinely happy to play Meryn. It was quite challenging because he's nothing like the person I am. He was, if you like, the complete opposite. And then we found out just how opposite, what a monster he turned out to be toward the end. The other thing is, once you see a character in Game of Thrones, the show was so well cast, you could not imagine anybody else playing that character. You couldn't begin to imagine anybody but Peter as
absolutely.
Charles as Tywin. You know, every character was so perfectly realised. In a different lifestyle, it might have been nice to have a go at Bronn because he was such an endearing.
That nicely takes us on to your next project, which seems to have the same sort of gravitas that the Thrones had, where I think it might potentially go on to be an absolute mammoth of a show as well. And of course, the show I'm talking about, which is out right now, and we have quite a lot of people watching in that are currently watching this. And of course, it's Gangs of London.
Gangs of London, indeed. It was remarkable because. I didn't audition for Gangs of London. I was offered a role in it, which was, remarkable. It was a real boost for me. Whenever you actually get offered a role without audition, it's quite unusual. And it was not a particularly big role, but nonetheless, it was a cracking one. It was good fun. It was good fun to do it. And working with Gareth Evans, who did The Raid, and The Raid 2 was spectacular, is all I can say. But the best thing about Gangs of London was twofold. Once, for one, should I say, I got to work with Michelle Fairley for the first time. I'd never worked with Michelle on Game of Thrones. We had never been in the same scene together. So to get to work with Michelle was truly spectacular. Another wonderful actress from our shores. Yeah. And also on the second day I was working with Michelle, I got to play my role. In my role, I was the husband of Frances Tumbleby, who I'd never worked with before. And Frances is just the most incredible actress as well. Funny, her sister, Roma, who was another titan of the local art scene here, as I was mentioning earlier, passed away just last week. But to work with Michelle and Frances that particular day was just, for me, I mean, honestly, I was like a puppy dog. It was embarrassing. I was gushing. I was dribbling. I was drilling. It was awful. It was embarrassing. But it was just so wonderful.
So cute. But we're going to give the trailer a spin. So for anyone who hasn't heard about this, well, I don't know what rock you're living under, but let's give the trailer a spin, and then we'll talk to you on the other end of it.
No problem.
We're born into a certain world. It's chosen for us. Some might think it's brutal. No, don't me! Please don't kill me! I say it's glorious.
Someone chose to kill Finn Wallace. Today we mourn the loss of a great man, but tomorrow it will be business as usual.
No. Everything stops until I find out who killed him.
There was a time when nobody would have dared touch this family.
I'm going to make things right, Mum.
Sean Wallace himself tasking me to find the guy who killed his father.
He's the twat that tore up the pub.
Elliot.
You did all that on your own? What was it, 6 of them?
Or 8. But I had a dart, so...
My father was taken from us on the streets of London. And now London will deliver to us those that took him.
We are making enemies out of business partners. We're going to find a peaceful solution to this.
I'm not interested in peace. What kind of trouble are you in?
If you knew what I was doing, you'd be proud of me.
I see him! Get Sean out of here now!
Once you enter this world, you can build an empire. You can be a king.
How unbelievably awesome does that look? Oh my God.
Cracking show. I mean, Gareth Evans originally devised it, and he directed many of the episodes, including one of the 2 episodes that I'm in. Lovely guy, fantastic director. But the style of the show, and I would have to say I've watched several of the episodes, and Michelle Fairley is just mind-blowingly good in it. I mean,
she's awesome. Anyway, she's great in everything. I genuinely have never seen.
She does, but she's playing such a different character to, for example, Caitlin Stark. I mean, oh boy, people are in for a treat when they watch this show.
I can't wait. It's on my watch list, and I'll be kicking off tonight. I got a question before we continue with some Game of I'm going to say Game of Thrones again. Gangs of London. You know, I was just saying to you off the air, it's Game of Thrones was abbreviated to GOT, and now you're on GOL.
Yeah. So G seems to be a lucky letter at the moment.
I know, right? My good buddy Lance Nelson is watching, and he was asking, what was it like to play such a controversial figure, Michael Stone, on the Mo Molan drama?
Wow, Lance! I think Lance might be one of my friends on Facebook.
Lance is a good friend of ours. He's a writer.
Right, very good. Indeed. Yeah, I know Lance.
And he also goes on to say, what research did you do into the character?
Well, again, I quite enjoy playing real-life characters. I've done it more than once. I actually played Jerry Adams in The Journey. And what I tend to do is, for example, with playing Michael Stone in the TV film Mo, got to work with the incredibly wonderful Julie Walters. I mean, oh my goodness, talk about a bucket list. That's one I'll take to my grave with me. The most remarkable, wonderful, decent, lovely woman, and what an incredible actress and icon.
Absolutely.
I did the research. Living in Belfast, obviously, I remember what he did. I remember the news stories, so I knew where he lived. So therefore, I knew his accent as well. I'd done the research on, any video of him and stuff like that. It was a very interesting role to play because at the time I played it, he was back in prison again. He had done that thing at Stormont, the opening of Parliament buildings in Stormont, where he'd tried to sort of gate crashed the party. He was taken away and locked up again. But I thought it was important, you know, and I always do think it is important, lads, to get the characters as close as you can. So whatever video you can find, whatever audio you can find, whatever news reports you can find, any interviews you can find, just to get the stance, to get the look, to get the accent, to get the speech patterns, you know, whatever that requires. And that's a challenge. So that whenever you're playing that character on screen, people will look at that character and say, "Oh yeah, that's Michael." So, oh, that's Jerry Adams. Yeah, that's yeah, I know that's who that is. I know that. So you don't want to try and be a mimic, but you do want to get the essence.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and I really enjoy playing characters that, you know, you can do that with characters who lived, characters who are part of our history. So it was a great character to play. It was a fun character to play. I really enjoyed my time working on Mo, and as I say, working with the incomparable Julie Walters, having 2 scenes with her. The other thing was just mentioning it when I was doing the prison scene, when Mo Mowlam comes into prison to discuss a peace process with the loyalists who are in prison, and you know, the leading loyalists in prison. My beautiful friend Mark O'Shea, who sadly passed away a couple of years back, Mark played Johnny Adair, and that was one of my wonderful memories of playing Michael Stone, was the chance to play in front of Julie Walters, and with Julie Walters, and with Mark O'Shea. So it's one of my wonderful memories. But really enjoyed it, and enjoyed doing the research to try and get the character as good as possible. Now, it was funny, we were doing a scene in one of the big shopping centres in Belfast. Actually, I think it was the Victoria Centre. Mo Mowlam signing books, and Michael Stone comes up to give her one of his paintings. And as I was walking on set, you know, there were members of the public passing by, and one of them turned around to me and said, "All right, Michael, how's it going?" So that was nice. They immediately recognised who I was playing. So yeah, no,
excellent.
It was good fun.
That's awesome. What's next for you? What's coming up, or is there anything in particular you're looking for, or anything that?
No, unfortunately, because of the events now, basically,
of course,
everybody's in lockdown. Jobs were cancelled. Jobs have been postponed. I do manage, thank goodness, to get the odd voiceover. So I'm still doing bits and pieces of voiceover work. I have been offered a role in a 4-part series that hopefully starts filming in the Netherlands in August. Hopefully. It'll all depend on what happens next. We're all waiting to see, basically. The only good news, I suppose, is there will probably, when the lockdown lifts and production resumes, that there will be a load of stuff there that has been postponed, as well as the stuff that was expected to be made, you know, later on in the year. So hopefully there'll be a few more roles up for grabs. I see myself very, very much as a jobbing character actor. That's who I am. So any budding directors out there, producers, you know, you need me for a day, give me a shout. I'll be here.
Absolutely, buddy. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's. I mean, obviously, with the Corona thing now, that's put a bit of a damper on a thing, but on everything really. But I totally agree with you. I think there's going to be an abundance of work available afterwards. But you know, through all of this and talking Thrones and talking a number of things, and we talked Michelle and yourself and a number. I'm very proud of just the level of talent that's come out of our fair shores. You know, the quality of filmmakers in every respect, in every department that Ireland as an island has got to offer is incredible. It's world class. And
I couldn't agree with you more. I do think per capita, both north and south, that we have a pool of talent that outweighs and exceeds per capita any other place in the world. I think we have some phenomenal talent here, and to see that talent, you know, finally get recognised is a huge boost, especially the people coming into the profession. You know, in Northern Ireland, we have Northern Ireland Screen, who does so much to bring in so many different productions. And it's amazing how many different productions are filmed in the province at the moment. Many people don't know, in fact, that Line of Duty, that wonderful BBC series, probably the best British series I have seen, with my mate, the wonderful Adrian Dunbar, is filmed exclusively in Belfast. And we have other productions coming in. We have other productions that have come in. Northern Ireland have done a fantastic job of bringing productions into this province. But it's also allowed us, when we got Game of Thrones, it was like a training ground. You were working with the best people in the business. And people here were learning as a result of being on set on Game of Thrones, with the result that we now have some of the best film crews in the business right here at home.
Absolutely, yeah.
That'll continue.
Because they duplicated was it a couple of years ago, they said they were going to build essentially a duplicate Titanic Studios, and now they've doubled it in size. Now it's it's the biggest in the country with the exception of Ardmore, I think, but that's in the south.
And also on the far shore of Belfast Lough, they've built another set of studios. Plus we had the studios up in Banbridge, we have the studios in the Castlereagh Road. We have some of the best locations in the world. So I would say that the future looks very, very good.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. We'll get a couple of questions. So if you want to get your questions into Ian, we're going to wrap up pretty soon. We're already way over the hour, buddy, but I'm just loving this conversation, so I thought I'd let it run. We'll get a couple of questions in. So again, as I say, if you want to get a question to Ian, pop them into the chat sections of the various live streams. So Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and LinkedIn. They're all there, and it'll come into us. Let's see, what do we got here? Peter here in London's asking, Peter's an actor, and he's saying, what would you say is the best thing to get into something like Thrones or one of these big projects, but now that the industry's like, the one-line parts are now, that used to go to, budding actors, are now going to like somebody who's got 3 years at a RADA are getting the one-liners. So how do you get into a room and be seen by someone like Nina when, it's one of these things? Do you have the credits? No, well, you can't see Nina. But without seeing Nina, you can't get the credits. So what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very tough, especially if you're a younger actor starting out. I mean, the first thing you need more than anything else, I think, is an agent. And, there's ways of getting an agent. You can do your own showreel. Get a friend to film you on your iPhone. Get a speech, whatever speech it is. It could be any speech from any film, something that touches you, something that you can do truthfully. To make the most of your talent, get it out there to agents, because that is the one thing an actor needs. An actor needs an agent. It's the way that he can get work. It's the way that he can get put up for auditions, even if it's only one line. And let me tell you something, one line doesn't matter. I remember my late mother talking about a play she had seen. It was a television version of one of the Shakespeare plays, and she had been watching it, and an actor came on, and he was to give a line. I think it was Richard III. I might be wrong, but he was to give a line to the king. He had one line. He delivered the line, and then he put his hands in his pocket in front of the king and sauntered off. That actor was Charles Dance.
Wow. And now that is that's
very young Charles Dance.
That dude's a thespian. Like, I don't know the man, I've never met him, but he seems like he is like an actor's actor. Like, he seems to me like a thespian, like a, you know what I mean? Like, he seems like he just got so much gravitas. It's amazing. I love it.
He's a wonderful actor, a wonderful guy. And again, whenever you're in real life, he's light, he's funny, he's charming. But then you get him in Tywin Lannister mode, and my goodness, the gravitas he brought to that role. But the gravitas he brings to all sorts of different roles. He's a remarkable actor, Charles, and as a very, very nice man. But once again, just that last piece of advice, kick the door down, break the door down, get your name out there, get photographs taken, do a show reel, do 2 or 3 different speeches, get them off to agents, get yourself any agent. That's the way you're going to get through the door.
Yeah, and you got an awesome one, David. What a sweetheart. He's such a nice guy.
Dave Lazenby at Vivian Clore is an absolutely unbelievable agent and a friend. I mean, he's become in very, very short order my dear, dear friend. He is a wonderful agent. He gets me seen for stuff that, 5-6 years ago I wouldn't have dreamt that I could have got seen for. And he has been, kicking down doors on my behalf for an awfully long time. It's funny, when I first went to meet David interesting little story. I first went to meet David, and it was just after season 5 had finished filming, but it hadn't been released yet. And I went into his office and I said, look, looking for London representation. He said, well, I really want to represent you. I said, well, I'm sure Game of Thrones. He says, no, I haven't watched Game of Thrones.
Okay.
Excuse me? I said, well, why do you want to represent me? He says, because I saw you in Starred Up.
Oh, wow.
Which was a prison film we did here with Jack O'Connell and Ben Mendelsohn.
What a great movie, by the way. That is a cracking movie.
Cracking movie.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed my time on it too. Jack was a lovely guy and Ben was just a hoot.
Yeah.
But that was it. I was sold. I said, you got me. You want me, you got me. And he said,
such a sweetheart as well, and it's so hard. It's so easy to to be like good at what you do. Like there are so many great agents out there, but not all of them are very nice. David's awesome, and he's an awesome guy as well. He's such a nice guy too.
He's absolutely spectacular. And the lovely thing about David is, he does get me seen for stuff that I didn't think I would get in the door for, and he knocks down the doors on my behalf, and he is just wonderful, and has become a friend, has become a really, really close friend. I love him to bits and pieces.
Okay, Sarah in Dublin, on our own fair shores, is asking, when you get sent a script, what is it that you look for in the character that stands out to you, that you go, do you know what, I got to play this guy for X reason?
Yeah, I think, obviously being Sarah being a jobbing actor, you don't always get the choice. You audition for any role that's going, and if it's offered to you, bingo, that'll put food on the table for a week or two. That is what we do. That is what we are as actors. But if I'm lucky enough to get offered a role, when I read the script, I try and find. I remember Gabriel Byrne, that wonderful, incredible Dublin actor, always said, find the truth. Find the truth of the character, whatever that truth is. Because if you believe that truth, you'll make other people believe that truth. The worst thing that can possibly happen for me as an actor is for someone to say, Ian Beattie's not bad in that. No, I don't want them to say that. I want them to say, I hate that guy.
Yeah.
Or I love that guy. Or this guy's really, whatever it is that...
If you see you acting, you're doing it wrong.
If you see the acting, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
And that was the trick, I suppose, when I was playing Meryn Trant in Game of Thrones, that, whenever people come up to me and say, I hate that, then that's it, job done.
Excellent.
Job done. To me, it's find the truth.
Yeah.
In the most improbable line you might have to say, you have to find the truth of it. You have to make the person watching you on this performance believe in that character and what that character's saying. So if I'm lucky enough to get offered a role, that's the first thing I look when I'm looking through the script and I'm reading what this character has to say and what his place is in this story. What is this character's truth? And how do I portray that truth onto the screen? That's my probably that's my number one starting point. What's the truth?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We got a question here from Esther Jester, who was Lena's hair double. She's saying, it's quite long here. Let's see. I got a question for you, Jay. You can ask Ian. To do what you talked about. Okay. If you want to be an actor, do you have to live and breathe it 24/7? She currently works as a swim instructor and a horse riding instructor. Is that hindering her ability to pursue the acting if she's making ends meet and making rent with other things?
Why on earth would it? I know of very few actors. I have met very, very, very few actors that didn't at one time or another do this job or do that job or do another job to put food on the table, to put a roof over their heads. 90%, 95% of the actors in the world today are unemployed.
Oh, absolutely.
Actually, sorry, today, 100% of the actors.
Yeah, right.
But, at any one time.
And that includes all the super famous ones, by the way, people.
And never underestimate an experience. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're working as a swimming instructor and you're horse riding. Never underestimate that. What if you get a role one day, Esther, where you need to ride a horse? Mm-hmm. What if you get a role one day where you have to save somebody's life at sea? Mm-hmm. Swimming will come in real handy. Horse riding will come in real handy. The people you meet during these times that you're doing these jobs, look at them, watch them. Maybe you'll get a character one day. Maybe that you get a role one day where you can say, oh, that reminds me of that person. And you can use something. Never underestimate experience, whatever that experience is, because experience will help you when you get a role.
Yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, as an actor, you're pretending to be a person, and how can you pretend to be another person if you have no life experience?
Yes, absolutely. As I say, I know very, very few actors that, in their days and in their time of unemployment, did not do whatever job they could get. This is the life. This is the life we have chosen.
Yeah, I think for me anyway, I think for everyone, I suppose, you got to be in it for the right reasons. If you want to be famous or rich or whatever, then okay, whatever, but it's most likely not going to happen. You got to be in it for the right reasons. Yes, you have to have talent, but you got to, I think maybe you'll agree with me on this. The actual acting is about 10% of what you do. The other 80-odd% is marketing yourself, getting an agent, going to auditions, making people be aware that you exist and that you are here and you can do X, Y, and Z. And to never give up. I know that's cliche, but never give up.
Never give up. Never take no for an answer. Always, always believe in yourself, because if you don't have self-belief, it's not going to work out. And acting is not a job. It is a vocation. It's, if you can't do anything else, if you love it so much that you cannot be satisfied with doing something else, that's what makes you an actor.
Yeah, I think it's a...
there are tough times. There are tough times. I remember after the film Alexander, I don't think I worked for like 12 months. Nothing. So it was. There are tough times, and you can go through periods. I went through a period not that long ago where I didn't work for more than a year, and that was after Game of Thrones.
Wow.
So that's the nature of the beast, nature of the business.
You just never know where the next one's coming from, which is, I think that somebody asked me that question before, and they said, I think actors get paid way too much, and for the most part, I suppose that's true. But I honestly think that the pay, like, okay, you've just landed this big movie, whatever it is, and they pay you $3 million to do this film. I don't believe that they're paying you $3 million to do that role. I believe they're paying you $3 million for the past 25 years that it took to get to that role.
Let me tell you something. I do remember a story Dustin Hoffman told that he was being interviewed a while back, quite a few years ago, but he was being interviewed. And obviously he had reached success with The Graduate and then Urban Cowboy and all those wonderful films he did.
Tootsie, what a great movie that is.
Kramer versus Kramer, and then all through the 80s as well. And he was being interviewed and he said, all the success I've had since, it wasn't worth it. For the times before The Graduate, which he described as just being absolutely dreadful. And the other reason that they're paying $3 million for, they're paying $3 million because they know that actor will bring in that $3 million at the box office.
Oh, absolutely, of course.
Plus.
Of course.
It's a business. It's show business. It's not show friends.
Absolutely.
It's not show for nothing. It's show business. And it is a business.
Absolutely.
And that's how we all have to treat.
You need to remember that. I mean, I've started producing in the last 6 or 7 years, as you know, and you so graciously came on and done Hayfields with us. But I after doing that, or not specifically Hayfields, but after being in producing, I will never ever complain about an actor again, ever, because it's such a nice. As you said earlier, you get picked up in a car, you're driven to a place, you're given coffee, as a producer, it's a whole different ball game. But yes, Tom Cruise or whoever isn't hired just for the sake of it. You know what I mean? Like there's a reason behind all of this.
He's going to guarantee X at the box office and he's going to make the money. And he's also hard because, let me tell you something, they're very, 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 I can't think of one single actor or actress who, at the top of their game, whether it be in America or whether it be here, that isn't worth every penny of what they pay them. Whatever actor that happens to be, whether it be Tom Hanks or Brad Pitt, whether it be actors here like Stephen Graham, another a wonderful British actor, Jodie Comer, they're worth it.
Absolutely.
They're worth every single penny that they get.
I couldn't agree with you more. I really, really couldn't agree with you more. I think it's a tough, long slog, and when you get there, and people also they see, you know, Brad Pitt or whatever it is, they see him on a red carpet and they think, oh, that's so glamorous. What they didn't see is the past 9 months. And when you see Brad or whoever on a red carpet, trust me, and I'm sure you'll agree with me on this one, the only thing going through his or her head is, I want to sleep. They've just done the movie and they've been up at 4 o'clock in the morning and sitting in the hair and makeup chair for hours, and then 18-hour day. Then the movie's done, and then you've got to do a world fucking tour of a press junket answering the same questions 25 times a day. So when you get to the carpet, you're just like, I am done with this thing already.
Holiday.
Yeah, whew, I'm out of here. So yeah, Ian, buddy, it's been an absolute pleasure. One little thing before I go, I'd like to ask all the guests now that we're going through this Corona thing. When this is over, when we're all permitted to go back outside and leave our humble abodes, what's the first thing that you're looking forward to? And it can be anything. For me, it's a haircut. This is not by mistake.
Yeah, my hair. I don't think I'm too worried about mine because it's falling out anyway. But I'm not quite sure. That's a very, very good question. I think I would love a McDonald's.
Fair. Do you know what? Fair enough. I was just talking to a friend the other day about the same thing. I want a Starbucks chai tea latte. I love them.
Yeah, I think, you know, the idea of actually going to, you know, a restaurant that you like, going to the movies, whatever, you know, just to get back to some level of normality would be something to look forward to and to really, really enjoy.
Ian, you've been an absolute superstar, my friend. Thank you so much. And yeah, we will see you in Gangs of London in the next days. Ian, thank you so much, buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
It's been a pleasure.
And for me, you look after yourself, and thanks to everybody watching out there. Thank you.
Don't forget to subscribe to The Hub for the latest episodes. You can find us on all your favorite podcast platforms and media. The Hub, your weekly fix of all things film and television, and some other stuff. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jason Mathewson.